Hey everyone, welcome back to our latest podcast. Today going to be talking about the fencing we done in Lamb Yos, low scanning results, an Instagram poll I done on my story, and a few bits like that. So, I'm just going to get into it really. The last few weeks have been absolutely bedlam. Um, we were doing a bit of fencing at home in the field, and the video was up on YouTube, and we had a couple of fences to repair. So basically, they're for the lambing to make things handy. And there was old fences there, so to take down the old fences, take up the stakes, bring just everything that was broken, and use cut them up for firewood and stuff like that. So every time I was bringing the stuff home, I was putting in the shed, or getting me away in the sheds, and I had to keep cutting up. So just one of those things that it was never ending, never ending. And so finally now starting to get on top of things. But it's the fencing itself, the videos there on YouTube, it's to make lambing easier and hopefully help Elaine as well in future when she's doing it. So we've a few paddocks done this year, we've done a few permanent paddocks last year. For next year we've a few more bits to do, a few more gates to hang and bits and pieces like that. So we're getting there slowly but surely. Like, these things take time, but the whole point of them is to get things ready for lambing, and then we've during the summer we'll be doing normal fencing then, and I'll have to get more stakes because I've used an awful lot of stakes in the last 2 weeks that I hadn't envisaged using them, but look, they're bare in the ground and used, and they're not like so. I'm going to go with the first thing I'm going to get into is the low scanner results in the hills. That people I've been talking to, an awful lot of them say that they've had low numbers of twins, and us ourselves we're 40 less. And I suppose when people say structure, that's less feeding, it's less work, it's not a bad thing. But next November, December, January, it could be a bad thing, because if there's a lack of store lambs, who's going to fill the markets? Because I can't see the factory giving us more money. So could lambs next after Christmas next year just go stupid money? I don't know, but I suppose it is something like we're relying a lot on, I think, on the cash out to keep the price up at the moment. So if that fell off, it could have a negative impact. But the fact that there's going to be less lambs next year could be a problem. And then if you're someone who sells your store lambs normally in the summer and gets rid of them, are you better keeping them, or can you have the room to keep them? That's the other way of looking at it. So it's something for people to think about. That if the scanner results are down in for the later scans that I've been talking to had been, it could have a knock on effect next autumn. So it's just people are thinking of selling or that in the summer, they might hold on to them for a bit longer and see what happens. So on Instagram, I ran a poll, and I just to see were people happy with their scan results, because having less twins, or that could impact on it. And 70% said yes, 15% no, and 15% were undecided. That was 80 people voted on it. And one person got back to me and they said that they scanned 1.6 and put 1.85 to the field, that the scanner got an awful lot of things wrong. So he was delighted that they got it wrong, but at the same time said it left a few extra hassles, and why the scanner result was so wrong, he's not sure. But he says, look, sure, you just have to get on with it for next year. And it is something that's can always happen, but I suppose it is a tricky job. And that kind of then falls into then with the inland yos. Like, this year I've noticed that inland yos are more expensive than last year, a good little bit more expensive. And I was looking at some of the sales, and I was thinking to myself, they're quite expensive and all this. And then I kind of stepped back and said, I knew a guy who bought inland yos, and this lad, now, he'd buy good yos in September time. And I said, he's paid, I think roughly paid $3.15 for the lamb yows in the middle of February. And at the start of September, he would pay 250 for yows with no lambs. So that's €65 in the difference. I kind of said to myself, when you think of it that way, it's not a huge amount of money, because you could pare it back a little bit by saying, well, what would your cost be to keep them? Well, you have a tenner to get them ready for tipping, regardless between the doses, injections, vitamins, all that, and maybe include your scanning. Would you keep them for over the winter for €35 a head of a cost? And that brings up to €45. So now all of a sudden there's only €20 on the difference of the price. And it just got me thinking, like, if you were, say, someone who really weren't worried about what sheep you had, you might be better buying in lamb yows than buying hoggets and buying aged yows in September time. Like, because if you didn't have them sheep, you'd have all the grass that they didn't eat. So when you bring them home after buying them in lamb, you can buy them a lamb at different times, and you can be letting them out on grass. You might actually have a cheaper yow for the €20 extra that you're paying in February and in March. Could actually work out that the yow could be cheaper. Now, obviously there's downfalls of buying in lamb yows. You don't know what you're buying, but there is genuine people selling yows, and the thing is, you will have problem with yows no matter what. Like, I suppose an example is we bought 7 mule yows last year. We paid almost €200 for the yows. I think there's quite a few dead lambs on them. And you could say, well, they'll not go back to the mart or got them. And I kind of thought there was no real point, because the lambs were alive and just they were dead closer to lambing. And I think what happened was either they got a knock in the mart, or when I brought them home and let them in my own yows, that they might have done a bit of fighting or got a few knocks that way. But I will see this year how the yows do. Like, but I put a few lambs onto the yows, and I got a Charlie lamb off of that, and I put it onto the yow. And that mule yow reared the Charlie lamb on poor ground. It was up high ground. That lamb was the best lamb that we had for the year, for the factory or for anything else. We actually had 2 lambs off of mules in Mead at a show when they were at a French lamb class. So it said, I think the lambs had to be 42 kilos or whatever, and our 2 lambs were maybe 43. But they were 2 good lambs, and the judge gave it to these little Beltex lambs. So these lambs weren't even 15 kilos or 20 kilos. And I heard the judge saying afterwards, them lambs were too good at lambs. Yes, they were too good, but they were way better than what was there, and when their kill out would have been ideal for any market, never mind French, German or Polish, it wouldn't matter. But that's besides the point. But it just shows that the mule yow, how much you put into the lambs. So suppose, just if you were thinking of buying in lamb yows or buying dry yows next year, you might be better holding on, because if prices stay the way they're going at the moment, like, yows could be extremely dear next year. And so the same guy, I suppose, he bought 2-year-old yows in end of August. I think them 2-year-old yows were nearly €300. So again, that's only €15 more for in lamb yows. So it's something for maybe someone might think about, that rather than racing to the sales in September, to kind of hold your powder dry, keep up a field of grass, and you might have a cheaper sheep, particularly if you're not worried about breeds, or if you knew a certain person was selling. Sure, even if it cost you an extra tenner, you'd probably be getting on better. So it's pros and cons, and I suppose at least nowadays there is them options. And them options are important. So the other thing is about foster yows and pet lambs. So this year we've got a few pet lambs, and we put foster yows on it. 2 of the yows worked out brilliant, not a bother on it. And the last yow, we aimed and got the 2 lambs and picked them up, and done rightly. She got 2 young lambs. I'd let her on it. I'd nothing to do with it. Let her on. She picked the lambs and had the jets and done all she had to do. And she came home. She was chuffed for her 2 lambs. Put the 2 lambs on the yow. Everything was great. And I let the yow out of the bail about 5 days later to see how she was getting on. And lo and behold, came back that night, and the yow had wedged herself between the gap in where the bail is. So she wedged herself down and choked herself. So the yow was dead. So now we have 2 pet lambs. So Evane's out feeding them and that, but they're 2 yow lambs, so they're a bit of a nuisance because, man, they're loud. I've never heard 2 lambs roar like it. So it's basically it's a pain in the ass. But as a wondering why my point is it more tradition that we're going and getting the pet lambs rather than selling the foster yow? Because I would feel bad about selling the foster yow, and I see on Dundee sometimes foster yow €300, €200, and anytime I put up a foster yow, I'll give you €100 for it. I'm sure she'd make more than Mark. So I kind of felt like that. Like, you're paying €30 or €40 for pet lambs, you're probably really not worth the hassle with the price of the lambs. But then you can't have dry yows running around. So would you be better selling your in-lamb yow as a cast yow or as a foster yow? Which would you be better doing? Like, but I know if I was to buy a foster yow and paying €200 for it, I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't think to be acting in it. So it's just something to think about. Like, we got the yow lambs, and now the thing is we've got four yow lambs now. Them 4 yow lambs will be kept. They're Texels and Charlie Crosses, and it was the reason we're keeping them is because the plan is in 2 years' time to lamb a few of them yows in January time, February time. It's something that I've always wanted to do and try. It was to have a little batch lambing along then, and the fact that Evane's getting older and she likes going out to the shed and checking on the few yows that I've had, maybe 20 or 25 kind of Texel mules and that across, that it would be nice for her to just go out and check them. And like, she checks what's in the shed lamb at the moment every day when I'm working. So, and she loves doing it. So when she loves doing it, it might be just when there's less of them, there's less pressure, it might be good for her. And also, I do look and see people on Facebook and Instagram. I see a lot of people, they have an awful lot of different mixtures of yows. Today of having mules or Cheviots or Hornies or whatever you have, just having the one breed seems to be gone because people seem to have an awful lot of mixture of breeds. So we'll see. Look, it's just something that we've been mulling around in the brain for the last year. So I suppose the next few weeks, basically we're going to be getting sheep ready for lambing. The twins are home. We have to be home. The singles. The twins are we started feeding the twins there this week, so they're not getting bursted out of it, but water is a big problem. And I suppose basically next week is going to be hanging a few gates, tying up a few bits and pieces. And what bits I'll be doing will be up on the Instagram story. And we're going to try and keep on top of these things. Try and not let the jobs get built up too much. But in a week's time in about a week's time, I'll be putting up a video on YouTube, and it's about a shed that we use in the lambing outdoors. The shed's only small, but it's really easy to use. There's little paddocks outside it. So for anyone that's lambing outside or lambing in the hills, a shed in the corner of the field, it doesn't cost a lot of money. It might be interesting to some people, but it's something I use a lot. And because like my father put up a timber shed there, I'd say 30 years ago, maybe more, and it's still standing. There's not a hobble on it. The shed I put up is probably 10-12 year old, and again, there's not a hobble on it. So the only thing we've done different is you might add in water trucks and stuff like that. So them little jobs will have to be done alright, but I suppose it's just to make things handier. So that's today's podcast. Again, I thank you for listening to me and having the chats. That it's great that it has got such a good reaction. And don't forget to give us a subscribe on YouTube and help the channel grow. It's quite important, and chat to you all very soon.